Hello and welcome to Trojan Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. Today we'll be learning about Troy University's study abroad options. And my guest today, Director of Troy Abroad, Maria Frigge. Maria, thanks for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me.
And study abroad opportunities. Troy is known as Alabama's international university, and there's a diverse international population here on campus. But it's a two-way street. Troy is trying to get students to go overseas as well to expand their horizons. So tell us a little bit about how Troy is doing that and what they offer through the Troy Abroad program.
Okay, so we have different options for students to do. They can do a traditional study abroad, which we consider a semester-long program or a year-long program, or also faculty-led study abroad, which is anything from a week to 4 weeks long programs that usually go over spring break or in the summer, in May, between terms. So there's all different options.
So the options there, but for the, let's say for the traditional semester long, what expectations does a student have in that? They're going to be gone for an entire semester. Mm-hmm. So what all does that entail?
So we make sure that they get college credits. Mm-hmm. So credits actually go towards their degree. So we work closely with their advisor to make sure that the classes they're going to take, wherever they go, are going to be able to be transferred back towards their degree. So that's one thing we really make sure that they do. And then the different options we have, depending on what they're interested in. Right now we have students in Sweden, Holland, Belgium, South Korea, Japan, and Spain. So we have 16 students abroad right now.
So popular locations to go abroad, but that's one of the questions that I know a lot of students probably have in the back of their heads. You mentioned it there about getting credit. And when you're going to one of these programs, you're actually taking classes that apply to your education here at Troy University. And I know, is that correct? Is that, because I know that's probably a concern for some of those students.
Yeah, that's exactly what we try to make sure, that the student actually takes classes that are going to go towards their major. And it doesn't matter where the students go, the classes are taught in English. Okay. So that's one thing that we make sure. So just because you go to Sweden doesn't mean you have to know Swedish, because nobody really speaks Swedish. You know? So
now, but obviously, but once they're there, they get a chance to experience culture. They get to learn the language. And what does that mean outside of just the classroom environment to be able to experience other cultures firsthand like that?
Yeah, I think it's very important, especially if you have a minor in Spanish, any second language, then that's the best way to learn, to go abroad and get immersed in the culture. And that's how you're going to learn about any culture, is if we're actually getting immersed into it. So that's one of the good benefits. And also, when you go abroad, you learn a lot about yourself, and you have a chance to actually look at your own culture and see, why do we have ketchup bottles that are this big? Like, why do we need that? Why do we need hundreds of cereals? Those are things you get to reflect on when you come back after being abroad. So those are some really good skills. And so those skills then transfers over when you try to apply for a job. Because if you can tell your employer that, I know how to work with people from different cultures, I know how to adapt to new situations, that's going to be a great benefit.
And now, if you've got maybe a student out there with a little bit of wanderlust and want to spend more than one semester doing some things, what are the limitations on study abroad options for a student here at Troy?
Well, you can go and study abroad as many times as you want. There are some residency requirements for the major, so that's important that you make sure you talk to your advisor and see what that is if you're interested in doing a long, study abroad period. So.
Now, you mentioned there briefly of some of the options, but what does this mean for a student, I guess, while they're in school and expanding their horizons? How important is it for a student to be able to just, once they get back here, kind of open their eyes to other cultures? And what does it mean to their education here?
Well, one thing that I've learned from a lot of students that come back is they get more involved with international students when they come back on campus, because then they've been in their shoes pretty much, because they've been an international student in a foreign country, so they know what it means to be able to come to a new culture. How easy and how hard is it to learn a new language and to understand the culture where you are. So they have more empathy for those students. So that is a great thing to see when they come back.
And now, for anyone out there who's interested, students that are thinking, I'm sold, I want to go overseas. This sounds very interesting. What do they need to do to maybe look into their options, and maybe if they've got an idea of where they want to go, what can they do?
I think they should start with coming to see me. Okay. My office is in Hawkins Hall. And just because that's where we start. We'll start figuring out, what's your major, how are you paying for school right now, what would be the best option for you? And then we work with your advisor to make sure that you're going to get credits that are going to go towards your degree.
All right, and if anyone's interested, they can come see you. And once again, where can they see you?
Hawkins Hall.
Hawkins Hall. So here's hoping that maybe some students out there are looking at some options to go overseas and fun time and educational time, somewhere to expand their horizons and see a little bit more culture. So, well, thank you for joining me today. And here's hoping some students take advantage of those opportunities. So thank you.
Thanks.
And thank you for joining us on today's edition of Trojan Talk.